Education is constantly evolving. Staying informed about emerging trends is crucial for school administrators, teachers, students, parents, and communities. Welcome to Learning Forever, hosted by Dr. Sue Lang, President of NewsBank's K-12 division. Dr. Lang engages with national leaders to discuss the pressing issues facing education today. Learning Forever is brought to you by NewsBank, a global news and information provider to schools, libraries, and research institutions worldwide. In this episode, Dr. Lang has a conversation about innovations in education and testing a 4-day school week.
Well, hello. Welcome to Learning Forever with Dr. Sue Lang. And I happen to be Dr. Sue Lang, and I represent NewsBank K-12 Education. And today I have the pleasure of having Mr. Eugene Blalock, Superintendent of North College Hill in Cincinnati, Ohio, joining us. Our topic today is lessons learned post-COVID. But before we get to those topics, I want to give you a little bit of background about my friend, Mr. Blalock. He has been the superintendent of North College Hill since 2016. He was formerly, before the superintendent, he was an administrator in the Mount Healthy City School District as an elementary principal and very involved with curriculum and instruction. So I know that he has many years of experience, way over 20 years, and is a wonderful person to interview today. So with that, Mr. Blalock, why don't you give us a little background about North College Hill School District and your work in North College Hill?
Okay, like you said, I'm superintendent here at North College Hill City School District. This is my 7th year at North College Hill City Schools. North College Hill is what we would consider, what you all would consider, some would consider suburban, urban. Our population is, we probably have about 78% African American. We have another 10% that are multicultural, and then we have some other subgroups. Economically disadvantaged as far as North College Hill is. And our population, we have about 1,400 students, so let me say that. We have 4 schools, elementary, middle school, high school, and alternative learning center. And so as far as our demographics, again, talk about our subgroups, but we are 100% economically disadvantaged. We're probably about between 22 and 24% special needs. We are a district, a high needs district. And like I said, I've been here now 7 years. Some of the things that we've done since I've been here, and I'm going to brag just a little bit. One of the things that I'm very happy about is that when I first came, we found that we had a lot of students who we had to send out of the district because of special needs. So we just didn't have the support or the capacity to support those students. And those students were sent out of the district. Also, we had a number of students who were being suspended. And those students were just being suspended, expelled, and just kind of sent home. And that was something that actually I learned when I was in Mount Healthy. We had an alternative program. And kind of following that same trend, I ended up starting the Trojan Way Learning Center. So I'm happy to say that this was our 3rd year. And when we're talking about COVID, the interesting thing, Dr. Lang, is when we started this, we started virtual school. So basically it was alternative to suspension expulsion. We would have opportunity for K through 12 to have resource rooms set up. And then we had a virtual program. So in 2019, when we opened up, we had 5 students in our virtual program. And then lo and behold, the pandemic happened, COVID happened, and that number jumped up to 500 within a year. So the interesting thing is, although we were starting this and we were introducing it, it actually was a blessing that it was in place. And since then, we've actually just improved it and learned some things based off of COVID and what we were able to provide those students. So that's North College Hill, and we're a walking district too. So I think that's unique about North College Hill. We're about 2-mile radius, and we're a walking district, very close-knit community, a lot of community support, and that is North College Hill.
You know, that does not surprise me about you. because I want to do some bragging on you. First of all, you're in a district, you just said walking district, which means to me, that means a very close-knit district. So you're a listener, you connect with people, and you think forward. And that's the way your career really has been. You're a think forward person, but you listen and you figure out what needs to be done. And just listening to you talk about your special needs population as well as the discipline issues, you looked at that information and you said, what can we do? And you thought forward. And so it's just a pleasure to have you on and talk about these things. So let's begin with the post-COVID, some of the things that you just brought up. You were ahead of the game by starting that center. You had 5 students that went to 500 during COVID. But since that time, talk about some of the trends that you've seen in education, not necessarily just in North College Hill, but in education since COVID, since the pandemic.
Things as far as COVID, so I'm just going to say some things that has hit North College Hill, but when I started looking at it, this was national. So it was not just North College Hill, it was not just Ohio, this was national. And what we found is that for us, that our attendance, staff attendance. So COVID was tough. And to be honest, post-COVID was tougher, because I think when we came back, everybody thought that, we were going to be back to normal. We're back full time in, everybody's ready to go. And what we found is that our teachers, students were ready, but I think our staff, something happened during COVID and it affected individuals differently. And what we found in our district is our attendance was really high as far as staff attendance. So we had a lot of staff that were missing. I ran some numbers, and on any given day, we had close to 30% out, sometimes higher. A lot of times, administrators had to go over to the building. My administrators, myself, my executive team went over to the building to help out, because not only were teachers out, and we'll talk about why, but also you couldn't find subs. So we found ourselves in a situation where you had a teacher shortage, and this is national, a teacher shortage going on. And then you had something that happened with staff members where we had a lot of individuals dealing with some mental illness, and that just wellness. We'll say wellness altogether. And it could be due to the stress of coming back. It's some things that I think happened, and it was triggers, traumatic things that might have happened in the past, that we've seen individuals who had to step away from education because of their own mental well-being. And so you have individuals who are in education who are struggling, and they're leaving the field of education. And then you're going out to the schools. And if you look nationally, those numbers of individuals enrolling in teacher education programs are down. We do what's called climate surveys. And all those climate surveys, we want to catch the pulse of what our teachers are feeling. Now, the one thing, like I said earlier, is we were dealing with high absenteeism. Teachers were losing their plan bills because they had to cover for their peers because we couldn't find subs. Myself, principals, they're in classes, or we're in classes covering classes for teachers. I've had lunch duty a number of times this year because we just didn't have staff to supervise those students. During December, when we had that, I kind of had I'm doing research and finding out that teachers are burnt out. That's what they were saying. They were just tired. You knew it, you saw it. One of the things in the survey, and this will hit home with you, Dr. Lang, it says central office does not care about us. Central office does not care about us. And when they say central office, they basically mean the superintendent.
Right.
Does not care about us. And that really hit home. And what they didn't know is that we were doing everything that we could to try to get subs for them. We really were. We went up on our sub pay. We were doing all kinds of things, and we just could not find subs. And I was doing some research actually, and talking about just teacher shortage and what you could do differently. And this might lead into kind of when you talk about post-COVID, what can we do differently? And I read something about out west where they were having 4-day schools. They were lengthening the day or shortening the day, but they had changed it. And one of the articles I came across during my research was, can a 4-day work week save the profession? Which started me on a whole nother journey and reading and research. To the point, go ahead.
Let me just comment on a couple of things that I heard you say. First of all, I heard the emphasis on staff, and not that your emphasis is not on students, but that your emphasis is really on staff. And your emphasis was to get quality candidates, and your specifically for your district, we're trying to get African-American males, and that difficulty in attraction and retention too, I'm hearing. Having your staff stay there, retain, and not leave the profession, as well as attracting new. So that was really a message that was really strong. Before we get into the specifics about your transition for next year, which is very exciting, and we want to hear about that, what are some other short comments you would make on other things that you've seen differently post-COVID?
Well, I say this, one of the trends that's not a good trend is after COVID, Dr. Lang, everybody went back to what they've always done. It's like COVID was over, the world opened back up, and individuals decided, you know what, we've been doing this for 196 years in the United States. We'll continue to do the same thing. So those were some of the things that I saw, and some of the things that kind of hit me. And if you talk to one of the biggest things when you go to any type of conference, probably since COVID, was that everybody was talking about staffing. That was the number one issue, is how to, everybody's struggling with getting subs. Everybody's struggling with how to retain individuals. And that there was the number one thing that I saw whenever I went to the conference. And that's what things that the superintendents were talking about most.
So your district saw a little bit different from maybe the national statistics, and that is that even though your students, I'm hoping that I'm saying this right, even though they were online learning during COVID, and when they came back, you continued some of that, blended it, but your student growth was still high. You were still improving. All students were getting that 1 year's growth, which when you look at the national statistics, they're saying that some would say that there's no change, and some would say that there has been a decline. But you're saying in your district, the combination of the online learning and the work that you have done, your district, your group staffing has done, as far as really focusing on individual learning, and that assessment piece has really, the outcome has been very positive. That's great. And then the second piece I've heard from you, besides the blended learning, which is print versus digital versus online versus in person, is that care about your staff and care about really the profession, right? You care about the profession of education. So let's now go to this topic that you were on NBC talking about this. So here we go. I am not a Samantha Guthrie or Hoda, but I'm just Sue Lang. But let's talk about that 4-day week at North College Hill next year, which, by the way, I just want to share with everyone. There's around 16,800 public school districts in our country, and only roughly 560 are going to this shortened work. When I say work week, it's really student week. So North College Hill is one of those outliers that's looking at the future and looking at the need to retain staff and attract. So let's talk about that. Go ahead.
Like I said, it started with that climate survey and finding out what the teachers needed. But what we did see is that although it's about teacher wellness, the bottom line, Dr. Lang, is it's about student achievement. The most important person in that classroom is that classroom teacher. And if teachers do not have ample enough time to plan, to collaborate, then the students won't get the best version of that teacher or get what that individual needs. So one of the things that we learned, like when I talk about systems that we had in place, our strong teacher-based teams, strong building level teams. But all of that went around meeting together, collaborating, having an opportunity to look at data and use that data to drive instructional practices within the classroom. And what we found is, or what we saw is, our teachers were losing that. The reason that we were able to maintain some student growth, and we've done well in this district as far as student growth, is because our teachers have had that time, and we've made it a priority to make sure that we are using data to drive instruction. So when we talk about the 4-day, my 4-day, so I'll just say for us, it's a 4-day blended learning schedule. This is something that the ODE, Ohio Department of Education, they have a model. So we've been working with them as we start planning this. We have it set up for next year. It's a process. So we had surveys, staff surveys. It started with staff surveys. We talked to staff and we said, you know what would be some barriers if we went to a 4-day? Number one thing, food and childcare. But when you talk post-COVID, we learned that we can take care of meals through sending food home with packaged food home with students. Childcare was another barrier. Because our students, our goal is to have K through 12 as far as blended, but we're going to provide limited support for K through 8 to support the families. And where our teachers will be planning on Monday. So students come to school Tuesday through Friday. Teachers, all staff, I should say, come to school Monday through Friday, and they have to work. So when you look at anyone who's not a certified staff member, those individuals, we've already started lining up and creating a plan to train those individuals to help supervise those students who may need to come in. The work that the students will be doing on Monday will be self-directed. So it won't be new material. It'll be work, whereas teachers will give them practice materials, actually using some of your materials when they're at home. But yes, they'll be using those types of materials. It'll be self-directed. And also teachers will send home pre-work. Show me what you know that'll help drive the instruction in the classroom. So the way we're looking at it is that teachers have ample enough time to plan, ample enough time to collaborate, ample enough time to look at data, use data to drive instruction, and focus in on the individual kids and meet the needs of that individual kids, that individual student, that we won't miss a beat. We believe that if that happens, teachers can go into that classroom 100% prepared to teach. And now we're not looking at teaching large groups. Now we're looking at more small groups, small group instruction, which is probably the most effective instruction that can happen. And so that's what we're banking on. I'm betting on my teachers. They're excited about it. The community partnerships, it's been amazing. We've already had child care facilities reach out, child care providers, I should say, reach out to us and say, hey, we understand you're going to this 4-day. Can we send this out to our parents, to our parents, and let them know that, hey, we have space available. One of our child care providers told me just last week, hey, we have 125 seats waiting and available for K through 5. Because our goal is to make sure that our most vulnerable kids are taken care of. So that's been the 4-day, our 4-day plan. It's one of those things. We're the first in Ohio, let me say that. So we understand that all eyes are on us. We're gonna say we're a pilot, not, we're the pilot for this, not the guinea pig, but we are the pilot model for this. And I strongly believe, this is Blalock, and this is the reason I brought this up to the board. Our teachers were struggling. Our teachers were struggling. They didn't have a chance to plan. As you know, just in the profession, my wife's an educator also, and she's a special ed educator. So every Sunday when we came home from church, she was working on IEPs, late hours that our teachers keep. We believe that this will be a game changer as far as saving the profession in a whole, to be perfectly honest with you. I know it's going to have a positive effect in North College Hill, but I think if it's successful and other school districts catch on to this, I think it'll be something that may save the profession. As I go out and I talk to college students and I tell them about this, when you talk about weighing those job options and you say, hey, what if you had the opportunity to work at a school that was just a 4-day and you had a 5th day just to do all your planning? All hands went up. So I'm excited about where we're going.
You know, gosh, I've got a heart full of joy for you, because not only because you're #1 in Ohio as far as trying this and piloting this program, but you are elevating the profession of teaching, which is so important for others to hear how important it is for teachers to have the time, the professional learning. We do it in business all the time, but we have to focus on our own profession. And we both have been teachers in the past, and we've been administrators, and we've had those central office jobs, those principal jobs, and teachers are so important. And the fact that what I find interesting, and there's just so many facets to this, is that you talked about the pain points that the community had, and you're focusing on those pain points, childcare, K-8, and you're doing it in partnerships in your community. The other piece that I heard from you is that teachers are going to use digital products, digital learning, at least on that Monday. So students have some directed instruction using something other than just print material. We're transitioning from print to digital learning, which I think is also wonderful. It has its pluses and it has its minuses. We have to look at both. But
and one of the components, one of the components for the blending with Ohio Department of Education was that it had to have some component of online. So if you talk about hours, we'll have our hours in within those 4 days as far as student hours. But as far as some type of online component, students will have access to Chromebooks. They'll be able to do some self-directed work. And we're excited about that for our students. And we know they can do it. You know, it's one of those things where, well, they're in the kindergarten, they don't know how to do it. No, if you give a kindergarten a Chromebook or an iPad, they can dig right in and go directly to what they need, know what they need to do and get into the system to work. So I don't think that will be too hard for us. The one thing that we are truly focusing on is having that dedicated time for those teachers. We've already said that, and this is, you know, we know that a lot of eyes are beyond us. I'm getting calls from superintendents, not just in Ohio, but across the United States about what we're doing and how we're doing it. But if anyone comes into North College Hill, because one of the things they did say with the teachers is, you know, we don't want this to be, we want our time. We don't want you to just give us meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting, professional development. So that's not what this is about. You know, we will have an hour dedicated to, we'll just say building level or central office level meetings. 2 hours is what teachers will be able to spend. We call it, on data, collaborating. So if individuals come into our district, you come in to the district from 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock, you'll see one half of the district working in rooms, collaborating, special ed teachers working with teams of teachers, our special areas working music, art, gym, working with teachers and creating plans. And then if you come in from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, you'll see the other half of our group working in collaborative groups. That other time in between is what the teachers will need in their classroom to plan. So they'll have time to collaborate with the team, but they'll also have that time, that much needed time for them to sit in their classroom and create those lessons based off of lessons learned from our teacher-based teams. So I'm excited about that.
Well, this is an unbelievable interview today. I just feel so lucky that we've had the opportunity to talk about the post lessons that we've learned from COVID, and also this exciting opportunity. And NewsBank is definitely a partner with you, and we're so happy that you're participating on this thought leadership, because this is very intentional what you're doing, intentional for supporting the profession of teaching and teaching others how to move forward in this different time that we're in. So thank you.
Learning Forever is brought to you by NewsBank. For more than 50 years, NewsBank has provided K-12 schools around the world with research and classroom products delivering vetted, trusted, primary source news content to enhance learning in and out of the classroom. Products like Access World News, America's Historical Newspapers, and Research Rockets help students build critical thinking and information literacy skills. Contact us to learn more.